When you heard the news this morning about Scott Bloomquist, what was your reaction?
Yeah, man, I was shocked, really, and Scott Bloomquist has been part of this racing community for years, and he's only 60 years old, so very young, and I think everybody was shocked.
What kind of guy was he? Put him in the best terms you can.
Well, I mean, Scott Bloomquist was a polarizing figure. People loved him or hated him or both at times. So he was an innovator of the sport. Definitely will go down as a legendary guy. I think maybe, possibly, arguably, the best dirt late model driver ever in history. He lived a rock star life, absolutely, and like a lot of rock stars, had his challenges. But man, I'll tell you, that guy was, like I said, a polarizing figure that will never be forgotten.
Racing style-wise, what did he do that made him the best, and probably because of it, a polarizing figure?
Well, I think the first time I met Scott was in 1980, whatever, 80-something, and Scott was closer to my age when there was not a lot of young race car drivers coming up. His stuff always looked nice and tight. His body was just, of the race car, was just really nice, and he just thought on a different level than most people that race dirt late models. And he was an innovator. He tried a lot of things that people didn't think of trying, almost from a rocket ship standpoint, and that allowed him to get ahead of the competition in a lot of ways, and especially the 80s and the 90s, early 2000s, he was absolutely a step ahead of everyone, and it showed.
And going down as one of the greatest, if not the greatest of all time, what does that just speak to this area and what he meant to racing, especially in East Tennessee?
Yeah, I think, you know, there's a, like we had talked, there's a rich history of auto racing, dirt track racing especially in this area. And for Scott to move here from California to Iowa to Mooresburg, Tennessee, he's one of our own, you know. He's an East Tennessee guy, and we were really always proud of Jimmy Owens and Scott Bloomquist, and here when they done good nationally, because right up here in Mooresburg is just a short drive, and Scott was always at these local tracks. And I'll tell you, if you want a crowd at your local dirt track, just say Jimmy Owens and Scott Bloomquist are there, and that was worth 1,000 fans.
What is his loss going to do to the sport?
Well, he had tapered off from running a lot of races recently, but just his presence, people would show up just to meet Scott and the legacy of Scott. He was a mythical guy. I mean, there was a mystery that surrounded Scott, and even in his death now, to die in a plane crash. So I think just him being gone, his legacy will live on forever, but just him being at the racetrack really meant a lot to everyone because he had such a rich history of wins and car innovation and everything that he had done for this little sport.
What do you think his biggest lasting impact on the sport will be, from innovation to safety to bravado on the track?
Yeah, he was a charismatic guy. I mean, he did things his own way, where a lot of guys, especially in today's world, are politically correct. He just definitely danced by the beat of his own drum. And I think that's what you need in any sport. Like I said, a polarizing figure, but still, the car innovation is really what stands out to me. Scott tried things other people didn't think of. Sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't, but he could drive the race car too. He was really a great race car driver, and that's what it comes down to.
Chris, anything else we left out you feel like you want to add?
No, just the long legacy that he, and like I said, arguably, I think he'll go down as one of the sport's best and most liked and sometimes most unliked driver, but definitely a Dale Earnhardt type figure that drew fans to the racetrack.